Hey friends, welcome back to Empty Mountain. Just thought we'd give you an update on the siding. We've made some progress in designing the system and installing. So I guess we'll show you the back side of the house, little cabin we got right now. That's how far we've got it. And I've kind of shown the rain screen system that allows drainage and ventilation behind it, but kind of dialed in the system here, and we thought we would end by taking you on the actual installation of a piece, kind of show you what goes into each one of these boards that we install. One thing I wanted to show, I don't think I've shown it yet, is I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see it yet. So if we look under here, oh here, shoot it from the side here. You can see that there's this 1/4 inch gap that runs along the top of this here, and that actually vents from the bottom out that top. And then when this guy goes down, if you look up at the bottom here, you can see I actually wallowed out a 1/4 inch kerf there. And I'll grab a piece, I'll show you what that looks like. So we'll actually slide one of these guys in there like that, and that'll allow for the ventilation of the system to continue, and then hopefully keep the bugs out. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it's coming out. I started off different. I originally started off just painting behind these seams, because these will open up a little bit, and they've actually opened up. You can see there's an 1/8 inch gap there. And but I painted the wall behind it, and I just wasn't liking it. So we moved to a system where we are installing this piece of roofing felt to the back side of the board. And I'll actually show you what that looks like when we install this next board. So, backside's almost done. We had to leave that corner loose until I get the foam and that other side ready to go. But this is real close to being done. And now we have this side of the cabin almost done now. I got a couple of the boards prepped, and I'm just got the last, or one of the last boards here prepped, and I'm going to show you. We'll finish it off together, and then we'll install it together maybe too. But let me show you this here too. So these boards are of course vented from the bottom, and then they run up, and then we actually have this metal flashing that I extended the wall with, and then that'll actually get that same corrugated space in there too, and it'll sit, and so it'll breathe right out the top there. And any water, I mean, you'd have to follow us for years, but since last year, but the roofing system actually, the steel roof takes care of 99% of the water, but it's an old roof that we caulked holes on. So I made the dry-in system an actual roofing system. So the dry-in from the building actually comes and pours out onto this flashing. If we ever have any leaks, it'll pour onto this metal and come outside onto the siding. But I'll show you what it takes to build one of these panels. It's pretty time consuming, and I've been enjoying just taking my time, but it's coming together real nice. But I spend my time on each piece to get it to look, you know, just to get it to take shape how I want. So the first thing we have to do is put a straight edge on both sides of these boards, because when they got milled, just not a lot of attention was put, so there was a lot of waviness to these edges. So I already squared up this edge, or straightened it out, and then I made some measurements on this side to straighten this side. So we'll start going from there. And I just use this piece of metal flashing that was given to us as our straight edge, which has been pretty helpful. For my little saw, if I put it at 3 5/8, it follows the blade pretty good. Old Harbor Freight clamps. 5/8. 3 5/8. I weigh this down just a little bit because it gets a little floppy. It helps when I'm sawing just a touch to hold that down. And I just run this edge of the saw along that straight edge. Get my ear protection out. I only need to protect one ear because this one doesn't work anymore. So actually getting these sides squared up takes quite a bit of time. I had it all set up, getting the first one and then measuring the size of board you can get out of it. Takes a little time, but that made it look quick. So that's got 2 parallel edges now, and I already squared off the bottoms and marked where all the screws go. So I already did all that in preparation for taking you guys along with installing this, and now I just have to cut it down to length, which I already marked too. This is the this is how fast I wish it would go. When I'm doing these cross cuts, I like to flip the board upside down. When I do the long rips, it leaves a pretty nice edge, but when you're doing the cross cuts, especially the wood's a little damp, it's a really fresh blade, but it just leaves some fibers, so it's nice to cut it upside down. Leaves a nice crisp edge on the face of the board. So that is the cut piece, and now just figure out what the bottom is. That's our top. That's our bottom. So this side needs that roofing felt on it to flash the backside and to keep put the shadow on the backside and keep the bugs out. So we'll just put that here. And I just cut a bunch of strips of, this is actually 15-pound roofing felt. It's just what we had on hand. I have no idea why we have 15-pound felt. Someone must have given it to us at some point. I would like it to be 30-pound because it just has more structural integrity to it, just a little firmer, a little stiffer. But this is what we have, and I think it'll work fine. So I just lay this on the edge, and then we'll tack down halfway on there. You can see I'm kind of splitting the difference there. And if I hang this, just get a number of staples because I'm going to pull against it there. Bring it down to this side, put a little tension on it, and then I just kind of hang it with a few to make sure that it's got the spacing I want. I'm just pinching it there to get the gap that I want. And then I'll go back and crease it so I know where that edge is. Especially with this 15-pound felt, it's so light, I want that staple right up against that edge, so it tells me where that edge is. And I'll get as close as I can without going over, because then I have to pull the staple out. Oh, let me show you this. I'll come outside. I'll come outside. Okay, so we went to the lumber store to get staples. This was $5 for like 2,000 staples, something like that. Anyways, the brand name staples are way worse and cost over twice as much for what we're doing. It's just, so if you can, and I don't think you can find these cheap staples at the big box stores. You might have to go to like a specialty roofing place, or like we went to the local building, the lumber yard in Missoula. But no chisels on the teeth. If you need chisels on your teeth for some reason, don't buy these. I don't know what they're for. And the staples just fall apart. These hold together, and they don't collapse in your hands. The other ones are just a mess. These are way better for half the price. And you just buy them by this huge box. You never need to buy, most of us never need to buy another box. We're using a lot of them, so it's nice to have these. But $5 for that, for the way better staples. A little pro tip. I'll just go and make sure they're all sitting flat. Okay, and so this is like an engineered product now. We're building a siding product, which is cool. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to see how it how it treats us into the future. I need to grab my drill real quick. So now I just I got all my screw holes marked out, so the boards, I just line them up on the bottom. All these screws will be in a nice straight line on the siding. Make sure that I start my screws pretty straight. The pine's funny because it's really soft in some spots, and then you'll hit some of the little harder spots and it'll just really want to crank your screw over. So I try to take a little bit of time when I'm setting these to keep them relatively straight, square off the board. Then the screw head sits nice and flush in the board. Not a whole lot of angle. And then there's our top. And I just take the whole piece. It laps over this piece of felt there. Lay it in on top. Then I just flush the bottom out. like that. And a lot of you may, or some of you watching, may be wondering why I'm cramming these in tight and screwing them in, because wood will expand and contract. This wood is starting off fairly wet, so what we've been noticing is it's shrinking, and I want these gaps to be 1/8 of an inch or less. And if we did it the other way, I'm guessing they would become like a quarter. If I left a gap in here, we might get 1/4 of an inch gaps. That's just not what I want. So I'm willing, if for some reason these end up swelling and buckling, I'm willing to pull a couple boards off in the future, because we're doing it all with screws and shaving the boards down if we run into a problem of swelling and popping boards out. I hope that doesn't happen. Definitely a little nervous, but running experiments. And then you just fill the screws in onto the next board. That's the system. Starting to sprinkle a little bit on us out here. But we have, I have 2 more boards prepped. They'll go in pretty quick, and then the corner's got a little funny detail on there, but we're just a handful of minutes away from getting this 90% plus done. Yeah, thanks for coming with us, guys. We'll see you on the next one.